TV history isn't just the story of the shows that made it. It's also the ghost map, roads paved, tested, and then barricaded overnight. In the late 20th century especially, networks loved sneaking new concepts into episodes of hit series, hoping lightning would strike twice without the risk of ordering a full pilot. Sometimes those backdoor pilots landed so awkwardly you could feel the audience recoil. Other times, they were genuinely promising. Different tone, intriguing new characters, even a clever hook, only to be shelved after a single airing, a focus group, or a late-night executive meeting. The result is a forgotten subgenre, episodes that introduce a world you were never invited back to visit. Today, we're rolling back the tape on a dozen spin-off pilots you never saw, or saw once, and then never again. We'll hit the premise, how the idea was introduced, what the network wanted from it, why it fizzled, and whether any DNA survived elsewhere. Expect time capsule cameos, odd tonal pivots, and a lot of, wait, that almost happened? Energy. Quick pit stop before we dive in. If lost TV lore is your jam, rescued experiments, failed retools, and the near misses behind your favorite shows, tap, like, and subscribe. It helps the channel reach more nostalgia nerds, and it tells the algorithm we're doing something right. Let's start with a sci-fi legend that tried to incubate an espionage show right under everyone's nose. 12. Star Trek. Assignment: Earth, 1968. As Star Trek's second season wound down, Gene Roddenberry piloted an idea that didn't quite fit the USS Enterprise's space operatic rhythm: a cool, sleek, Earth-bound espionage drama. Assignment: Earth drops Kirk and Spock into 1968 via time travel, but the real star is Gary Seven, a human trained by aliens to quietly correct Earth's self-destructive tendencies. With a shape-shifting cat, a gadget-heavy office, and Terry Garr's breezy Roberta Lincoln as the audience surrogate, the episode reads like Mission: Impossible with cosmic oversight. You can feel the handoff. The Enterprise crew becomes observers, while Seven's moral calculus and undercover hijinks take center stage. Why it didn't go: timing and identity. NBC was already uncertain about Trek's ratings, and launching a second series from the same creative stable, especially one that would siphon energy into a non-space premise, was a tough sell. Assignment: Earth was compelling, but tonally perpendicular to Trek's frontier ethos. Network opted to wrangle Trek into a third season instead, while Seven's world was boxed up. Legacy check. The concept has endured as an intriguing what if, resurfacing in tie-in fiction and comics, an inspiring later genre blends where covert guardians nudge history from the shadows. It's also a neat textbook case of a backdoor pilot's structural trick. Make your heroes tourists in someone else's series, then ask if you want to stay there. NBC's answer was no, but the episode remains a fascinating alternate door. Trek is a key that opens. Not the stars, but a locked office in mid-century Manhattan. 11. The Brady Bunch, Kelly's Kids. Sherwood Schwartz didn't just build blended families, he tried to franchise them. Late in the Brady Bunch's run, the episode Kelly's Kids introduced Ken and Kathy Kelly, a suburban couple who adopt 3 boys, one white, one black, one Asian, explicitly to challenge social norms and model a loving, multicultural household. It's a brave premise for a Friday night sitcom, framed with Brady warmth and a wink at the period's culture wars. The backdoor pilot is textbook. Mike and Carol step aside while the Kellys carry full A-story responsibility, test driving the chemistry and conflicts future episodes might explore. So, why no series? The idea was arguably ahead of its time for network risk tolerance. Executives feared the show would be too issuey to keep the featherlight Brady tone, and too light to satisfy viewers who wanted deeper engagement with race and identity on TV. Add the broader early 70s reset. Networks were re-evaluating Family Cute and clearing schedules, and Kelly's Kids wound up as an earnest, standalone experiment. Its DNA survived. The adoption as norm message and cross-cultural family dynamics popped up in various 80s and 90s sitcoms, often with more room to breathe. But Kelly's Kids remains a curiosity. A pilot that wanted to normalize diversity via the most mainstream vehicle possible, Bradyverse wholesomeness, and got stuck between ambition and the moment's limits. As a backdoor pilot, it's a time capsule of TV, trying to push forward without losing its smile. 10. The Golden Girls. Empty Nests. Here's the strangest franchise origin. A failed pilot that still birthed a hit after being reimagined from the studs up. In The Golden Girls' second season, NBC aired Empty Nests, featuring the girls' neighbors. A melancholic married couple, played by Paul Dooley and Rita Moreno, recalibrating to a child-free home. The tone is low-key and bittersweet, more dramedy than Quip Machine, and the girls cameo around the edges to graft audience goodwill onto these newcomers. As a proof of concept, it's earnest but tentative. The network response? The idea had legs, but this execution didn't. NBC commissioned a full retool. New lead, Richard Mulligan as pediatrician Harry Weston. New family dynamic, widowed dad, adult daughters boomeranging home, and a brighter, sillier tone. The resulting Empty Nest, note the singular, debuted in 1988 and ran for 7 seasons, crossing over with the Golden Girls and later the Golden Palace, like a cozy, Miami-set sitcom universe. Why the first try fizzled, misaligned tone, and indistinct hook. The Backdoor episode asked audiences to invest in aching realism just steps away from a sitcom masterclass in zingers, and it didn't offer a clear comedic engine. But the retool nailed it. Weston's house as a revolving door for family and neighbors gave writers endless story fuel. It's a rare example where the Backdoor pilot failed, but the underlying instinct, mine, the cul-de-sac, was exactly right. The lesson: you can keep the address and change the furniture. 9. Punky Brewster. Fenster Hall. Punky Brewster made warm-hearted advocacy its brand, so it's fitting the show's Backdoor pilot pitched a series set at a boys' group home, with Punky's teacher Mike Fulton as the through line. Fenster Hall, the season 2 finale, relocates Punky's optimism to an institutional setting, a rotating cast of kids with different backstories, a staff juggling compassion with rules, and Mike trying to reach them one at a time. The episode breathes differently than Punky. It's ensemble, not star vehicle, and uses Punky as a visitor whose presence softens the tone. As a pilot, it's easy to imagine the weekly engine, case of the week challenges, friendships forming under pressure, small wins against systemic obstacles. Why it didn't go: the mid-80s Saturday night slot machine favored candy-coated concepts, and Fenster Hall risked drifting too close to very special every week. Executives likely questioned whether families craving Punky's buoyancy would follow Mike into heavier territory without the same neon sneaker charm. Still, the attempt is notable for its sincerity and for spotlighting an underserved slice of kid-centric TV, children whose stories aren't wrapped in a single laugh track. Fenster Hall sits alongside contemporaries like The Facts of Life's more serious arcs, hinting at a parallel universe where NBC experimented more boldly with youth ensemble dramedy. In ours, the door stayed shut, and Mike returned to class, proof that sometimes the heart is willing, but the time slot isn't. 8. The Nanny. The Chatterbox. The Nanny's world, Manhattan Gloss meets Queens Hustle, was so specific that lifting a piece of it felt like a smart gamble. The Chatterbox, a season 2 detour, plants us in a Queens hair salon owned by Fran's cousin. The vibe is pure outer borough ensemble. Stylists as Greek chorus, regulars with rotating crises, and the salon as a community square where jokes and advice fly in both directions. Fran pops in to connect the universes, but the episode's goal is clear: prove this corner can stand on its own. Why it didn't become a series: duplication and dilution. The proposed spin-off mirrors the Nanny's favorite moves: class collision, loud family dynamics, tell it like it is banter, but without the central tension that made the Nanny sing. A fish-out-of-water romantic farce set against Park Avenue formality. In the salon, everyone's speaking the same comedic language. There's no opposing force. Networks love a strong comedic engine, and this felt more like a pleasant hangout than a must-watch hook. That said, you can see the appeal. The 90s were flush with workplace ensembles, newsrooms, coffee shops, radio stations. A salon promised constant walk-ins and situational churn. But duplicating the Nanny-verse cadence without its oppositional axis proved a bridge too short. The characters got a lively test drive. The car didn't leave the lot. As Backdoor pilots go, it's a case study in why same but more is often less. 7. Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Witchright Hall. Sabrina thrived on a split identity. Ordinary high school on one side, fantastical realm rules on the other. Witchright Hall, a stealth pilot, leans hard into the latter. A witch boarding school where young magic users learn etiquette, ethics, and spellcraft. It shifts the frame from Sabrina's mortal witch balancing act to a full immersion in realm culture, with a new teen lead, played by Melissa Joan Hart's sister, Emily Hart, positioned as our guide. Think magical homeroom drama. Cliques, crushes, and midterms that literally explode. On paper, it's a goldmine. Teenage dynamics plus fantasy gadgets equals infinite story engines. So why not picked up? Partly brand calculus, Sabrina's secret double life tension was its core appeal. Moving to a world where everyone's a witch risks losing the contrast that made the original pop. There's also timing. Networks were cautious about proliferation, and ABC, then the WB, had already stacked youth fantasy in their lineups. A second magical teen ensemble could cannibalize Sabrina more than complement it. Pieces survived. Sabrina later visits schools and deepens realm lore, but the pure spin-off never materialized. The episode remains a fun window into the franchise's what if we go full Hogwarts before Hogwarts energy, pitched with 90s sitcom bounce rather than epic fantasy gravitas. As a Backdoor pilot, it's a reminder. Sometimes expanding the mythology is best as seasoning, not the main course. 6. Married. With Children. Radio Free Trumaine. Married. With Children loved trolling sincerity, so its college radio spin-off proposition is a curveball. Radio Free Trumaine, the Season 9 capper, centers on a scrappy campus station fighting administrative meddling. You get a cluster of archetypes: the jaded alum, David Garrison returning, ambitious students, and a few future famous faces, along with the friction of free speech versus institutional control. The Bundys cameo, just enough to stamp the passport. The new cast carries the load. Why it stalled: identity clash and network fatigue. Fox kicked a lot of tires on MWC adjacent expansions. Remember the Enemies episode aping Friends? But the core audience showed up for low-rent family chaos, not a youth ensemble with a quasi-political backbone. The pilot's engine, rebellious kids versus stuffed shirts, is strong, but it lives tonally closer to 90s campus dramedy than the misanthropic universe that birthed it. Fox likely concluded it could buy a show like that off the shelf without the Bundy halo. Still, Radio Free Trumaine captures a very 95 moment. Alt-rock cresting, talk radio booming, and campuses as battlegrounds for speech and taste. As a test balloon, it proves how far a parent show can stretch before the rubber snaps. The station's pirate spirit never got a series order. The Bundys went back to their couch, and Trumaine faded with the closing credits. 5. Family Ties, The Art of Being. Nick. Few side characters owned an audience the way Nick Moore did. Mallory's leather-clad sculptor boyfriend with a Neanderthal affect and surprising sweetness. NBC saw the heat and tried to bottle it. The Art of Being. Nick aired as a standalone special, recentering Nick in Greenwich Village with a new roommate, a fresh set of oddballs, and storylines that let him be more than a grunt and a head tilt. Ratings were strong. Viewers absolutely showed up. And yet, no series. The reason whispered through trades and retrospectives. Family Ties needed Nick more than a new show did. Pulling him full-time risked deflating the parent series' romantic thread and the comic contrast he brought to the Keaton household. There's also the fine print of star vehicles. What works in bursts can flatten when it becomes the whole canvas. The special is charming, but could its sweet lug in the big city premise churn 22 episodes without sanding off Nick's edges? What lingers is the what if. Nick had genuine breakout potential and a different blue-collar angle than typical NBC yuppie fare. In a decade of white-hot spin-offs, hello, The Jeffersons and Frasier across eras, this is the near miss that feels most personal. A character fans loved, deliberately kept in supporting orbit to preserve a larger solar system. The art of being Nick, it turns out, included staying Nick-shaped inside family ties. 4. The Facts of Life, Blair's Eastland reboot. By season 9, The Facts of Life had reinvented itself multiple times. The two-part finale tried one last metamorphosis. Blair buys Eastland School after a financial crisis and becomes headmistress, setting up a new generation of students while the original quartet transitions to alumni mentor status. As a backdoor pilot, it's savvy. Use a beloved character to bridge eras, seed a fresh ensemble, and promise a familiar setting with new weekly engines. Dorm squabbles, faculty politics, teen hijinks. So why no go? The audience had aged with Joe, Blair, Natalie, and Tootie, and the appetite for next-class storytelling wasn't guaranteed. NBC faced a schedule crowded with high-concept newcomers and may have feared diminishing returns on a campus set half-hour without the original chemistry. There's also the shadow of franchise fatigue. Long-running shows often misjudge how easily affection transfers to successors. As television archaeology, the finale is poignant, a valedictory lap that doubles as a handoff rehearsal. You can see the blueprint for future legacy plays, Degrassi's generational swaps, Girl Meets World's baton passes, but in 1988, the network let Eastland's bell ring one last time. Blair's leap from Queen Bee to headmistress is a character arc that deserved a season to breathe. Instead, we get a well-crafted curtain call and a tantalizing door left unopened. 3. Charlie's Angels, Toni's Boys. File this under bold flips. In the waning days of Charlie's Angels, producers tried a gender-mirrored concept. Barbara Stanwyck as the glamorous, formidable Antonia Toni Blake, who runs her own trio of male operatives. The Backdoor pilot, Toni's Boys, mimics the Angels formula, mystery of the week, undercover set pieces, and a boss whose authority is all phone calls and panache, but with a different glam cadence. The result is stylish, lightly tongue-in-cheek, and clearly designed to keep the brand's frothy escapism while freshening the poster. Networks passed. Why? A few forces converged. Franchise fatigue. The original Angels was losing altitude. Brand confusion. Was the appeal the formula, or specifically the fantasy of female operatives? And a sense that swapping genders without a new engine felt cosmetic. The boys are capable, but the pilot doesn't sharpen a distinctive identity beyond inversion. Stanwyck, though, is magnetic. Every line drips authority, and you can glimpse an alternate series with her as the weekly spine. Toni's Boys lives on as a case study in late-cycle experimentation. When a hit concept cools, executives often reach for lateral moves. Reverse it, lighten it, reset the cast. Sometimes that yields gold. More often, it underscores what the original did that can't be Xeroxed. The Angels flew off into rerun heaven. Toni's crew taxied and never took off. 2. Green Acres, finale as double pilot. By 1971, CBS was executing the infamous Rural Purge, clearing small-town comedies for a sleeker demographic. Green Acres knew the axe was falling and got mischievous. Its final 2 episodes quietly function as tryouts for 2 separate series, using Hooterville as a stage to audition new protagonists with distinct comic rhythms. It's a fascinating inversion. Not one backdoor pilot, but a revolving door of them, as if producers were offering CBS a buffet of potential replacements without abandoning the set. the gambit didn't work. With the purge in full swing, the network wasn't rescuing adjacent ideas. It was mowing down the entire aesthetic. No matter how clever the handoff, anything smelling of hay bales and surreal barnyard banter was headed for the truck. Still, as a creative move, it's delightful. A metatextual wink where a show uses its own finale to say, if you won't keep us, at least keep our cousins. In hindsight, the finale feels like TV Darwinism in miniature. Environments that nurtured one strain of comedy were being replaced by urban and issue-oriented settings. Green Acres' double pilot is both scrappy and a little heartbreaking, the product of writers who understood TV's ecosystem and tried to evolve their way out, only to discover the landscape had already shifted. The credits rolled, Hooterville closed its casting office. 1. The Dukes of Hazzard, Jude Emery, and Mason Dixon's Girls. The Dukes of Hazzard was an action comedy delivery system. Cars, chases, banter, which made it a handy incubator for spin-off concepts. 2 Backdoor pilots emerged in 1980. Jude Emery introduces a stoic Texas Ranger whose lone wolf code and dusty swagger suit a more straight-ahead procedural. Mason Dixon's Girls sketches a private eye setup, a charismatic leader flanked by a trio of capable women, the Dukes guest starring as chaos agents. Both episodes keep the series' sunny stunt work while test driving different engines. Lawman mythos in one, team-based capers in the other. Why neither launched? CBS chose a different branch, Enos, following the lovable deputy to Los Angeles, which felt like the safer brand extension. Familiar character, fish-out-of-water comedy, easy crossover potential. Jude Emery risked tonal drift too far from Hazzard's yeehaw levity, and Mason Dixon's Girls may have struck executives as a Charlie's Angels echo arriving as that trend cooled. In a universe of limited time slots, near misses die quietly. What remains is a snapshot of how efficiently a hit can serve as an R&D lab. Swap in a ranger, a PI squad, an urban beat. See what sticks. For viewers who remember these one-offs, there's a pleasant cognitive dissonance. You met characters built for a world beyond Hazzard, waved goodbye at the county line, and never saw where they were headed. That road, as it turns out, looped back to the Boar's Nest and the General Lee. Conclusion. Spin-offs are TV's version of genetic experiments. Lift a trait you love, transplant it into a new body, and hope it thrives in a different habitat. Backdoor pilots raise the stakes. Audiences are invited to judge a newborn while the parent is still in the room. When they fail, the reasons are almost always about engines and ecosystems. Some ideas are great characters without a weekly motor. Some motors run fine, but don't fit the network's evolving map. Wrong tone, wrong moment, wrong companion shows. And sometimes the parent still needs the organ you're trying to transplant. Remove it, and both patient and child suffer. Yet the misses matter. Every abandoned concept leaves footprints. A tone that gets reused. A side character who resurfaces. A format that returns with the right lead and suddenly works for 7 seasons. The Golden Girls' Empty Nests. Misfire paved the way for Empty Nest. The Art of Being. Nick proved the appetite even if the deal never got signed. Assignment. Earth reminds us how malleable a franchise can be, and how specific its magic is when you stretch it. If you've got a favorite Almost show, one weird episode you can't stop thinking about, drop it in the comments. And if you want the flip side, we can queue up backdoor pilots that actually worked for a companion piece. Until then, thanks for watching. Thanks for liking and subscribing, and keep your remotes handy. Somewhere in your memory is a door you walked through once. Tonight, we found a few of the ones that stayed locked.